based off of chapter 14, Free Your Mind. At the bottom of page 85, I said, my sister and I could sit on the phone for hours and talk about how crappy our childhoods were. My sister and I could sit for hours and talk about how crappy our childhoods were. October 4th, 2023. Today I read chapter 14 and it talked about how my sister and I really only had connections when we were talking about shared trauma. At the time I had no idea it was what I now identify as trauma bonding. So I wanted to explore that relationship because many of us struggle with sibling relationships, and a large part of that is because the only connection points you all have are trauma points. And I dare say this is why you have little to no relationship with your parents. Because yes, there were good times, but more times than not, there were moments taken for granted. Example, kids making pizza together. A few kind words turns that moment into a memory. We have to understand life is lived in moments, moment to moment to moment. This right now is a moment. And whatever meaning that you attach to this moment will make it a memory. So when our kids say, I don't have any fond memories, or if you look back at your life and your childhood and you're like, I don't have any fond memories, it is because those moments were taken for granted and there was no anchor point created to make it a memory. There are good times, usually because energy has put into making it a good time. There are good times usually because energy was put into making it a good time. And the ones that stick, that energy that lingers, are those pain points, which I teach you to burn off in the book. So if you do not have your copy of What's the Best That Can Happen, and you want to move past pain points, make sure you pick up your copy. But those pain points are trauma bonds and are what has a higher impact because their stored frequency is much higher than any other memory. When I say frequency, I'm not talking about energy frequency. I'm talking about the occurrence frequently. So yes, we had good times in our childhood, but the frequency of the negative points that were stored because of the energy that was given into those negative spaces, the frequency was so high that it overshadows the positive memories. So we have to make sure that we're paying attention to that while we're raising our children. Sure, good times happen, but where was the most energy channeled? We channel the most of our energy in anger, in discipline, in trying to control. That's what leaves the largest stain. But back to my sister. Thinking back to potential fond memories, they are all her being forced to take me with her. She probably definitely didn't want me there. Energy is real, her walking faster than me and ignoring me. But once we arrived to her destination, I had fun. But honestly, the best memories I've stored of my sister were because of her. Because of her, not of her. I want you to hear that. The best memories I've stored of my sister were because of her, not of her. Digest that real quick. Are you creating memories because you provided the opportunity? For example, Dre bought the boys a trampoline. The boys have lots of fun jumping on that trampoline. Dad provided the opportunity for the memories, but is not the joy of the memory. Do you understand? That trampoline is the joy point that the dad provided. Now, Dre jumping on the trampoline with them, the family hanging outside, laughing and celebrate, the boys flipping and playing. Now the memory has moved from Dad bought us a trampoline to Dad playing with us and the family engaging, and I felt seen because of the trampoline. So we have to understand that when we are having these moments with our children, with our friends, with our family, with insert here, is the joy of the moment because of the moment or because of the person that we are with? How many times have you done things that you had such a great time, but the person you were with made it a miserable experience? So we have to make sure, especially when raising our children, because at the end of the day, once they turn 18, they don't have to fuck with us at all. We have to make sure that the memories that we are making the connections in their brain by providing the energy to create, to change a moment to a memory, we have to make sure that we are a positive piece of that memory. Memories, they blend together. Honestly, I remember her largely being mean to me, though I don't have specific moments like good times. The good times were so far and in between that I have no issue really recalling specific times. When you have so few fond memories of someone, or memories period, but when you have so few fond memories of someone that you can say, I remember this, and I remember this, that is because they're so few and far in between. But if you have so many trauma points with someone, give me an example. I don't have an example because it's so prevalent. You know what I'm saying? I also remember the 3 times she disappointed me. Disappointment is another emotion. But she was always mean to me and hurt my feelings. So to give an example, my entire childhood with her, just trauma. So now that we're adults, in the large belief that even in sister relationships, we can't trust our truths with each other. The only real. And I said the word real reminds me of relatable. When we're being real, we're being relatable. And we can only be real with people that we can relate to. And relation is not relating. The only relatable experience we can bond over is our shared trauma. We're not interested in becoming relatable friends present day, because now I know she never really liked me, and I can now admit I never really liked her. From what I know of her, she's not a nice person. Now, who she is today, to those who know her, that could be something different. But for me, she has never been nice. Relate, see? I love it, Ree. She's done nice things for me. She's essentially bought me a trampoline. So when we fell out, it was so easy for us to break, because my value in her was non-existent. She only had a few positive attributes, and our only relationship, present day, was founded on shared trauma. This is why these relationships break so easily. The foundation is crap. And when the break happens, we start spewing each other's shared trauma at each other. How many times have you fallen out with somebody and the first thing you guys do is start throwing each other's trauma back in each other's face? That is not friendly behavior, but we've accepted it and we've done it because we have a misconception of what friendship is. Things we received in confidence, in a shared experience, we felt we could trust and relate, but in honesty, trauma-based relationships should be avoided at all costs. Even if it's a family member, trauma-based relationships should be avoided at all costs. Anyone who wants to sit up and talk about mess with zero solution is someone who is essentially gossiping. We miss that it's gossip because you are both gossiping about yourself. How am I gossiping if I'm talking about myself, right? It's time to expand the idea that gossip is simply discussing someone else's business. No, any information given without an anchor point, i.e. value, purpose, meaning more than just talking to talk, you are trauma bonding and gossiping about yourself. That is a step in the right direction to discontinuing gossiping, i.e. I'm no longer talking about other people's business. I know that's not serving my higher good. I'm talking about my business, but if you're just talking about your business to talk about your business, look, my whole content is me talking about my business, but I bet you I have never left you sitting here like, why did she tell me that? Every single piece of my business that I have shared with you had an anchor point, which means I told you what I'm going through, telling you my business, which is where most people stop, and that's where gossip starts.